I think that Robert Kraft said if we keep him, maybe the learning curve will improve and he'll be the guy. But sometimes you just say, listen, we got to go out and do everything we can to get Mike Vrabel. And I think that's what the Patriots will do.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Wisdom Wednesday presented, as always, by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. The wisdom today comes from my longtime mentor, a guy that had a huge impact on me even getting into the industry, the great Peter King, who, by the way, is a beer lover. So might as well have Peter be presented by Labatt Blue Light. Man, starting tomorrow night, Penn State, Notre Dame, and then Texas, Ohio State. Drinking a lot of Labatt Blue Lights this weekend, boys, with friends, family, living life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, so we're with my mentor, the guy that made everything possible. None of this would have happened without him.
Oh,
you
you're
guys
crazy.
have heard the story. If you're a loyal listener over the years, he's been on several times. You can go back and hear that whole story. But I did want to ask him before I get into some specific questions, just give me and all the listeners an update on quote unquote retirement, Peter, because I know you have that show, Let's Go, on Mondays, but just kind of for the people that are missing your column and missing getting your NFL nuggets, what's this season been like for you?
I haven't really thought about it all that much, but I'll tell you, Ross, it was interesting. One time I really did think about it. Adrian Wojnarowski called me in the middle of the summer and he said, "Hey, I got a couple of questions for you." And he said, "Have you regretted your decision on retirement at any point?" And I said, "No, not at all." And he goes, "You never on Sunday night say, 'Man, I wish I could write about that'?" I said, "I mean, I haven't. Who knows? Maybe it will happen. But no, I haven't thought about it at all." And that was one of Woj's fact-finding calls before he made his decision. He was just trying to figure out whether by giving it all up, he was doing the right thing. And of course he was, because everybody is different in that regard. But Ross, I did the same thing for 40 years. I started covering the NFL in 1984. I loved it, loved every minute of it. But at one point, you kind of start to think, is that all there is? And I still don't have a great idea for what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. But, we'll see. I'm kind of enjoying doing nothing or doing relatively little. So that's been a good time for me so far. Zero regrets. Enjoy just being a fan mostly on Sundays, watching the games on TV, watching Scott Hansen. And it affords me the opportunity to see Ross Tucker say about Drake May, "Man, he looked like Larry Bird with that chest pass." So I get to see everybody, I get to hear everybody, and really, really proud of you. You're doing a fantastic job.
Oh man, that means a lot. That is awesome. Thank you for saying that for sure. I gotta tell you, with all my travel this season, and I got two games coming up this weekend. Although the travel's nice this weekend, Peter, you'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
Saturday, I'll drive an hour and 15 minutes from my home in Central PA to Ravens. I'm on the sideline radio for Steelers Ravens. Drive home with my family Sunday morning, go to church Sunday morning. Then I drive to Philly and I'm in the
Wow.
booth for Packers Eagles. That's about an hour 45 away. And then I
Wow.
drive home. So two NFL playoff games, get paid to go to both, no planes, no hotels. Who's
Wow.
got it better than me?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Ross, the one thing I did want to ask you about this life that you've carved out is that it really seems from a long distance that you're overwhelmingly busy and you do a lot of radio games. You got your TV game, but what do you think of the life right now?
Um, I love it. I would say on some level, I don't know any different. Just because this is what I've been doing or trying to do since I've been in the media.
Yeah,
And the thing is, and I wonder if you can relate to this, I never know what the divide is between work and pleasure on some level or work and leisure. Like, you know what I really wonder, Peter? Like, let's say things are going differently and I decided to get into finance. And right
yeah,
now I was, working for some hedge fund or private equity or whatever, like a lot of my buddies do. You know what I wonder? I wonder how much time I would spend on Twitter keeping in touch with the NFL.
of course.
Probably,
Yeah,
on the one hand, probably not much because I'd be all in on what I was doing and I'd be following, all the financial information on social media. But on the flip side, as you know, and as people can hear on this show, and certainly when I call a game, I really, really love football. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
always have, I always will. But I also love other things in life. And so I don't know. I'll never find out probably, but I guess I wonder how much I would have loved some of those other jobs. Certainly not as much as I love this, but we do get to this time of year when after the Texans Titans game, the plane's delayed and then there's lightning. And so all the airline workers have to go in because of the lightning. I later found out they were mid bag, right? So my bag was soaked. My CBS blazer
yeah.
was wet when I got
Wow.
it because I guess that's the rule. When it lightnings, they go in, even if everybody's bags are still
Oh
outside because
my
they were
God.
loading it. So anyway,
Wow.
um, when I hear you say doing not a lot this time of year, that sounds real good. However, I'm only a month away. I'm a month away from being there. So after
Yeah,
the Friday of the Super Bowl, when I'll be there doing this show and a million other things, I'm kind of off for 6 months. I'm kind of off
yeah.
from February 8th to August 8th. Now I'll do other things, but
Right.
I think that's a pretty good deal. Go real hard for 6 months, and then for 6 months, I can enjoy a lot of other things. My family, I'm home on weekends, stuff like that.
You know, what you say about enjoying not knowing the dividing line, I think is the key to a fun life. It's the key to a good life. I really consider that even in some of my more exhausting pursuits over the years, that I really never had a job where I felt like I was working. I wanted to do everything. And Ross, it's, you don't just drop it. Like I do some stuff for this Jim Gray Let's Go show, but also there's some things I just do kind of out of curiosity. And I'll give you an example, and I bet you would be the exact same way. So Kansas City played Houston a couple of weeks ago. Kansas City wins the game, but I remember in the middle of the second quarter, it was about then, that Kansas City had a 3rd and 7 from its own 21. And very rarely in the NFL do you see what happened next. The Chiefs go out in a 4-by-1 formation, four receivers on the left. It was Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, and then only Noah Gray on the right. And 4-by-1 formations are rare, very rare. So I'm watching this and I'm saying, I know what's going on right now. You know what's going on? Matt Nagy and Andy Reid are saying, we got to get something going. Let's pull something out of the trick bag and let's do something really, really different. And so they did something different. These four receivers line up in a bunch to the left. They come off the line of scrimmage. Three of them get stuck on Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown just leaks out to the left, and he gets a 20-yard gain. They go on to score. They don't trail again in the game. And so I found myself, Ross, you don't want to waste people's time. You really don't. But I had to text Andy Reid, and I had to ask him about it. I said to him, if I was writing a column this week, I would have led my column with this. I just love this play call, and it led to you winning the game. And was it your thought in the middle of struggling on offense that you wanted to create a traffic jam, so that somebody, he didn't know which receiver was going to leak free, but somebody would. And he goes, yeah, that was the plan. And so I felt really good. I felt kind of proud that even though I'm not really doing this, I can look at a game because I know Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, and I know kind of how they think. And it was just sort of a little bit of a test, but
By
just
the way,
because,
Peter,
yeah,
you gotta sometime when you talk to Matt Nagy, maybe you don't bring it up. I don't know. My junior year of high school, his senior year,
yeah,
they played Berwick High School, the number one ranked team in the country. Matt Nagy's senior year for Mannheim Central.
wow.
It
And
was
he's
on
quarterback.
it was on TV. He was the quarterback. It was on TV statewide. Everybody watched it, like 15,000 people there. And I want to say Mannheim Central was winning 18-0 at halftime. And this would have been a huge upset and all that stuff. Second half, Berwick comes out. They end up winning 19-18.
Wow.
The Berwick Bulldogs, Ron Powless's high school, and all those
Wow.
guys. Anyway, couple things
Yeah.
I definitely want to get to with you.
Yeah.
Patriots and Giants. So interesting. Two franchises you spent a lot of time around, two ownerships that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Really like Mr. Kraft, really like John Mara. They went different directions, right? John Mara is keeping Joe Shane and Brian Daboll after another disastrous year, whereas Robert Kraft is letting go of his hand-picked Belichick successor, Gerard Mayo, after 1 year, a year in which I didn't realize this, but on Tuesday's power rankings, Jack told me I had the Patriots 32 to start the year. They finished 29. So Gerard Mayo, he exceeded my expectations, I guess, for the Patriots. Just kind of your thoughts on the different tact being taken by those two organizations, which used to be thought of as being, best in the NFL or among the best.
You know what Bill Belichick used to say privately, quietly about the rest of the AFC East when Buffalo was changing coaches all the time, when the Jets change coaches as often as they change socks, when the Miami Dolphins were changing coaches a lot. Good. Every time they change coaches, you start all over, you build this, you build that. That's great for us. Let them always be in flux. And so John Mara was absolutely tired of being on the coaching and GM merry-go-round. Did he want to hire his fourth general manager in 8 years? No. Did he want to hire his fifth coach in, I think, 9 years? No. It's idiotic. And so if you're around the team every day and you're John Mara and you see, as I believe, that Brian Daboll has not lost this team, he just hasn't had a quarterback who he picked to be his guy. And so I fully support. I think it's smart. I know probably a lot of Eagles fans listen to this. Oh, great. They're going to keep the coach, blah, blah, blah. If I were an Eagles fan, I would say, man, that's bad news, because when Daboll finally gets a quarterback who he likes and who he picked, the Giants are going to get better. As far as the Patriots go, it's very simple. If you're in that office every day, if you're around that team every day, and you see some of the mistakes that a coach without a great support system, and Gerard Mayo didn't have a great support system around him. Robert Kraft didn't do him any favors with a fairly inexperienced coaching staff, all in all, and a first-time de facto GM in Elliott Wolf. It's just, it was, I'm not saying it was doomed to failure, But I think that Robert Kraft said if we keep him, maybe the learning curve will improve and he'll be the guy. But sometimes you just say, listen, we got to go out and do everything we can to get Mike Vrabel. And I think that's what the Patriots will do. If they get him, who's going to be saying it's a crummy decision? I doubt anybody.
The only thing um, that's interesting to me about that is who would Vrabel bring in as the OC, right? Because that's the most
Hey, you
important
want to hear
thing.
a funny story, Ross?
Yeah.
If Vrabel had gotten the Indianapolis job, you know who he wanted to bring with him as OC? Ryan Day. Ryan Day would have been the guy he wanted to bring with him to coach Andrew Luck, which was really interesting. And Chris Ballard at the time was worried that, the OC and the head coach might be over their skis a little bit trying to coach Andrew Luck. But anyway, who knows? I have no idea who he'd bring in. And it's a very good question. It's a question I would want to ask if I were interviewing him.
Especially because whoever that is, if they have a lot of success with Drake May, then that guy probably gets a head job somewhere else. That's always the
Maybe.
concern.
Yeah.
Are you still a Hall of Fame selector voter, or is that
No.
over?
No. My Hall of Fame vote after 31 years is gone, and my MVP and league awards votes are gone after 33 years. I just figured that even though I knew I was going to be following the league, it's not fair. If you're retired, you shouldn't be doing either thing, at least in my opinion.
Tell me
But
one
I have
thing.
I have opinions though.
Yeah. Well, but tell me one thing about either process that maybe people don't know or that you think could be greatly improved. I'm not asking about a player who you think should be MVP or who you think, but just let's talk process.
Yeah.
If they said to you, Peter, we want you to be the czar of the Hall of Fame or the czar of the awards that are given out, what
Yeah, the
what would you
biggest
change? What would you do differently?
biggest problem, in my opinion, with the Hall of Fame is that year after year after year, the same guys keep coming back after they get voted down. Like, for instance, this year, you know who should be in that room? Hines Ward, best blocking receiver of his day, Super Bowl MVP, 1,000 catches, more TD catches than any of the three guys who are in going to be in the room this year, and he doesn't even get in the room. But one of the reasons I bring that up is that the two guys, Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt, who have this is their sixth time, and to me, I think there's got to be a limit put on that. The limit right now is 15 years, is 15 times basically. I find that absurd. If a guy is a finalist every year for 10, 12, 13 years and he's not getting in, Ross, you know what? It's no sin to say you were a great NFL player, maybe not quite a Hall of Famer. And so that is one thing. I would put a limit on the number of years, however long it'd be. It wouldn't be very long, maybe 5 years. And if you don't get in, tough luck. That's too bad. As far as the MVP goes, I got a very strong opinion about this. I have read so many things in the last week or so that says, oh my God, the year that Lamar Jackson put up best year a quarterback's ever had with the rushing and the what I think it's 41-4 touchdown to interception ratio. Incredible. No guy has ever had stats like that at the quarterback position. Listen, this isn't a stat award. Everybody's got stats these days. Who's a contender for this? Jared Goff has stats. Joe Burrow has stats. Sam Darnold has stats. Obviously, all these players have stats. If I had a top three this year, in my top three this year, it'd be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, period. Because you shouldn't make this an award about stats or who had the best statistical year. It's not the most outstanding player. It's the most valuable player. And that's kind of been my pet peeve about that award, not just this year, but for some time.
So was that in order, Peter? You would have
Yes.
Josh 1, Lamar 2, Mahomes 3?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling basically is that Josh Allen this year gets Stephon Diggs subtracted, and the best receiver on his team is Khalil Shakir. Whereas Lamar Jackson gets Derrick Henry added. He rushes, Ross, I looked at this the other day. If you compare Emmitt Smith's age 30 rushing season and Derrick Henry's age 30 rushing season, Derrick Henry, 1.7 yards per carry more at the age of 30, 5.9 yards a carry at the age of 30 compared to Emmitt Smith. So you got you got Derrick Henry added, the best weapon that Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, has ever had on his offense. And look, I'm not taking a damn thing away from Lamar. He just had one of the best seasons a quarterback's ever had. I get it. He's been phenomenal. But to me, Josh Allen had the best 2 wins a quarterback has had all year. He beat 9-0 Kansas City with that incredible 26-yard scramble. He beat Detroit when Detroit was 12-1, put up 48 points. Now, you could say, well, their defense stinks. Well, it's in Detroit. You still got to do it. So, but again, look, if Lamar wins it, I don't think it's a miscarriage of justice at all. Lamar's been utterly fantastic. I just happen to vote for Allen.
I love what you said about the stats too, because the goal is not to accumulate stats. The goal is to win the game. There are plenty of times where Josh Allen or whoever could have accumulated more stats if that was the goal. He did it in the games he had to do it, but
Right.
other games he didn't have to do it. Check him out on social media at Peter_King. Has recently retired asterisk as his bio. Had a good run. I love it. You know what? It's pretty clear you're still paying attention. I always take notes for social media, and I had like 6 or 7. You're gonna light it up on social media with some of these comments. Peter, thank you so much for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
All right. Hey, Ross, take care, huh?
So it all leads up to this. I've been talking about Smirnoff all season because they're not only the official vodka sponsor of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, they're also an official vodka partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59. What I love about it is you can get the world's #1 vodka without breaking the bank. Unbelievable. You don't want to be paying some of these other prices for vodka. Absolutely ridiculous. I had a decent amount of vodka drinks last week, which were lovely while I was with my family celebrating New Year's Eve. Big fan of vodka with like Gatorade or those type of mixers where you're like hydrating while you're getting some incredible Smirnoff. Delicious. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, may vary by state. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days. Playoff season is here, and the only thing better than game day predictions are the foods that come with them. Introducing Tums Fantasy Foodball Pool, brought to you by Tums, America's #1 antacid brand, and DraftKings. Each week leading up to the big game, turn football into foodball by building your best game day plate for a shot at winning a share of $40,000 in cash prizes. Inspired by game day bites and tailgate treats. Join the Tums foodball action during this playoff season's most heartburn-inducing time. Visit DraftKings.com/Tums foodball between January 6th and February 9th to enter for free and select your game day plate before the start of each playoff round. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at DraftKings.com/Tums foodball. When you feel the heat of the game, don't let heartburn keep you on the sidelines. Try Tums Chewy Bites with a tasty outer shell and soft center for fast relief of heartburn, acid indigestion, and upset stomach. Check out Tums Gummy Bites featuring a soft and easy-to-chew format for fast relief of occasional heartburn, acid indigestion, sour stomach, and upset stomach. Both available at Amazon, Target, and other major retailers nationwide. And for more heartburn relief fun, be sure to follow Tums at Tums Official on Instagram and TikTok. They are football's funniest family duo. How about NFL Super Bowl champs Jason and Travis Kelce? Hey, I know those guys. Teaming up to provide next-level access to life inside the league in their hit show New Heights, plus stories from a combined 21 years and counting in the league, off-field shenanigans, can't miss A-list interviews. Listen and watch New Heights wherever you get your podcast. But if you want to skip the ads, catch new episodes early and unlock access to exclusive episodes of the show, join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, some notes around the league. The Titans, they fired their general manager, Rand Carthon, after 2 years. The Raiders, they fire head coach Antonio Pierce. And the Cowboys, they deny the Bears' request to interview their head coach, Mike McCarthy.
Right. You know, it's interesting because start with Rand Carthon, right? Doesn't have a quarterback. Didn't have a quarterback for 2 years. Did not get competent quarterback play. You have a chance to win games and arguably a bunch of games if you get competent quarterback play. They did not have that. Same with Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. I mean, it's not a secret why most of the bottom 5 to 10 teams are the bottom 5 to 10 teams. You know, I feel bad for Antonio Pierce because those are basically the quarterbacks he inherited. You know, I don't know. I mean, Gardner Minshew, and then he got hurt. Aiden O'Connell. How much of a chance do you really have going up against some of those other teams? And then, but the difference is Rand Carthon, he's the one that actually drafted Will Levis. That's a little bit different. And this whole Bears, Cowboys, Mike McCarthy thing is hilarious because his contract expires on Tuesday. So it's like they're stopping him, preventing him from talking for 5 more days, 6 more days.
A couple other notes in San Francisco. They fire their special teams coordinator, Brian Schneider, and also their defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen.
Supposedly they want Sorensen to stay on staff, just not in the defensive coordinator role. Not a great look for Kyle Shanahan on multiple levels, right? I mean, number one, he's the offensive coordinator. So he basically fired the other 2 guys, but not himself. And then also, you know, he fired Steve Wilkes after the end of last year, the D coordinator. Now he fires Nick Sorensen after the end of this year. He's the one picking the coordinators. I mean, he's the guy that's making the decisions. That's not a real good look for him.
And the Chargers, they're bringing in running back Ezekiel Elliott.
He's going to start on the practice squad, then they may bump him up. I think he, in their mind, helps to replace Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards got banged up in practice, actually, before that Patriots-Chargers game I called. So Zeke kind of gives him more of a banger, good and pass pro, that kind of deal. So I don't know how much of an impact he'll actually have. I do know we had even money yesterday. Fantasy Feast today. Tomorrow, Greg Cosell, the civilian GOAT. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. I'm telling you guys right now, this would be the best Valentine's Day gift you ever got your significant other. Ever. They would love it. They'd have it hanging up in the house forever. And you get an autograph from me on a press pass or a picture or a card for whoever you want. myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com. HumanHeadNYC.com. Sporticulture. Pizza Boy Brewing.